Hey, quick follow-up to my Creature Cantina Ship of Theseus video. I showed you my #1 Darth Vader case. And it talks about the contents being Star Wars, 77 to 79. At some point, I really began to chafe at calling the first film A New Hope. I reverted to its original title before there was an Empire Strikes Back, before there was an Episode 4 subtitle. It was just Star Wars. Everybody knew it as Star Wars. So that's why that says that. And that's what the action figure card back said for the first film. They didn't say A New Hope. They just said Star Wars. So, but I did get it wrong when I printed these labels. It should say 78 through 79. Oh well. But I showed this cardboard insert that I had fashioned. Set that out. It's funny because I talked about Boba Fett being in here. I guess that since it's 78, 79, that's a holiday special reference that I put him in here with all these. Although I have noticed in about 3 different cases of mine, there's always a Boba Fett. So I have several of him. But what's important here today is this cardboard insert of mine. Let me just make sure that's right side up for you. Now that's who goes in what spot. But the cardboard itself was some sort of wooden dollhouse kit. At some point, I guess I'd gotten yet another case from my grandmother, and I was reorganizing everything. And I said, okay, I can put this many in a case, and that's Star Wars, and this is Empire, and this is etc., etc., etc. And I just fashioned these very quickly, and they've been in there ever since. But I drew out who all was in each space. And on all the other ones, it's white poster paper with a little chart drawn on it. And some of them have stickers and things. After I shot the other video, I did a little tiny bit of detective work, and it wasn't hard to figure out because my parents had 4 grandsons but only 1 granddaughter. So I messaged my niece and I said, hey, by any chance, did Dad ever make a wooden dollhouse for you? And I showed her what this piece of cardboard looked like, sent her a picture. And she goes, yep. Matter of fact, she still has it. It was up on a high shelf in the closet. And she took it down to see if maybe he had dated it, because he would often sign his works and put a date on it. We couldn't find anything on this one. But while she's got it down and taking pictures of it from multiple angles, my great niece walks in the room, who is, I believe, 7. Perfect age. You know, that's the age I was when Star Wars came out. And immediately wants to know, ooh, do I get to have that when I'm older? And my niece said, no. She said, there's still stuff at Nana's house that I was promised when I was your age, and I don't have it. She's 33 now, I think. So I went through my other Vader cases looking for another piece of this, and at first overlooked it. And then went back through this Droids case. This is number 5. Droids Ewoks cartoons. And I needed to test, I'd gotten some little custom lightsaber accessories in different colors, including the saber for the droids and pop-up lightsaber R2-D2. Now, as you can see, this was a case with a broken clasp. So I didn't mind customizing this one, and that kind of came in handy for Droids and Ewoks, because size from was too big to fit in a space. He's too wide. So I actually took a Dremel and some snippers and I cut out one of the dividers so that he could fit in a double wide space. And then since that's got some burring to it, I smoothed it as much as I could, but there is still some burring to it. That's why I keep him wrapped in a plastic bag to put him in there. And I thought this was funny. On this cardboard insert, I wrote that this compartment is supersized. Get it?
Now, I have plans to go over my full droids collection in a future video, but for now, let me just tell you, these are the only 2 carded vintage Star Wars figures that I have. Got these right after I graduated college, 1992, and at the time, I foolishly believed they were the last 2 Star Wars figures I would ever need to buy. Famous last words. He's on the American card, he's on a foreign card. And they are complete. They've never been taken off their bubble. You can see how yellowed their bubbles are becoming over time. What I want to recap quickly is something that I went over in a previous video, that when new versions of R2 and 3PO would come out, they would retire the previous version. So when removable limbs 3PO came out, they retired the classic 3PO. When the sensor scope R2 came out, they retired the first R2. When pop-up lightsaber R2 came out, they retired the sensor scope R2. So when these 2 guys came out, the droids versions, they used the current molds. So when it came time to do the droids version of C-3PO, they just used the removable limbs version of C-3PO they'd been using for a couple of years at that point. Matter of fact, if you really want to, you can swap their parts around. Likewise, when they brought out the droids version of R2-D2, they just used the then current pop-up lightsaber mold. Now, I didn't actually like that feature being on him. I would have preferred if he looked like the 1978 version of R2-D2, so I made a custom one several years later. I got pretty close on some of the colors. Some of them are not that great. Bear in mind I am colorblind. But if you'll look at this guy, you'll notice he's missing his pop-up lightsaber. My carded Droids R2 had his pop-up lightsaber, though. I wasn't too worried about it. Now, they are removable if you tug them out of the classic pop-up lightsaber R2-D2. Let's take a look at one. It's got sort of a bulbous tip, a shorter shaft than Luke's accessory, and I always called it a light bat when I was a kid. It looked like, in Luke's hand, it looked like a baseball bat. But it'll stay in when you put it in the figure. Now, over the years, I've tried a few times to get a reproduction accessory of this. This one is painted, it's got some big thick lines on it, and the color's not quite right. Plus, the worst aspect of it is when you turn him over, it just falls right out. This is the most recent one that I've gotten where it's actually molded in that color green. It's a pretty close match color-wise, if you ask my colorblind eyes. It's got a little more flex to it, and it has, usually a better chance of staying in, although if you shake it, he's going to come out too. Recently, I bought some lightsabers that are molded in colors that Kenner never produced, including a double telescoping green saber. And I got a pop-up lightsaber molded in blue, which isn't really going to stay in any better than the green ones did, but at least it's a little bit more camouflaged instead of that green hilt sticking out of the hole in his head.
Took the case down to test that, and lo and behold, here was another piece of cardboard that I'd completely overlooked, and sure enough, it also is from the Tiffany, spelled with an I, wood dollhouse kit. And I guess it just makes sense, you know. Once you build a dollhouse, it's not going back in the box, you know, ever. So Dad was just throwing out this piece of cardboard. So this would be somewhere around 1995, I guess. Yeah. 95, 96, somewhere in that ballpark. That I would have been at my parents' house with my collection the last time. So anyway, that shows you some of the Droids and Ewoks figures. And there's a few other oddities in here. Like, I really don't know if I'll ever do a video on this guy. But this was sold on eBay as a prototype. And it's the Imperial Commander. I mean, clearly that's what we're looking at there. But notice one arm is what appears to be, I think, a TIE fighter pilot arm. So yeah, he's just got one erroneous arm. And I mean, this could easily be a custom. Somebody could have stripped the gray paint off the glove and stripped the logo off the shoulder and stuck it on the wrong figure. But you know, it was just a few bucks, so I bought it as a curiosity. And then I've already talked about blue snaggletooth and red snaggletooth. What about my custom B-Wing pilot snaggletooth? So, and yes, I still have the B-Wing pilot parts left over in a baggie. I know, B-Wing pilot is kind of a rare figure. I apologize. And then on this side of the case, let me move some of these accessories out of the way. You've got the Droids figures, including at least 1-2 customs that I see there. And guess who? Boba Fett. So, like I say, Boba Fett's in multiple cases. He's in Star Wars, he's in Empire, he's in Droids, and he might be in Jabba's palace. I'm not sure. But, alright. Let's look at these 2 pieces of the cardboard front of the box. You can see where I cut them from one large piece of square or rectangular image. And I looked it up online and found a photo so you can kind of see where those pieces went originally. Yeah, I would love to take some top-down photos of the contents of the cases and have them printed onto cardstock or something and cut them out and make a really decent insert to replace what was just a down and dirty organizational tool, and something to protect my figures from banging heads. You know, this is scrap cardboard, and then this is just a piece of paper and ballpoint pen and tape. But I don't know, there is just something kind of neat about reconstructing something of my dad's handiwork. Had made it into my Star Wars collection all those years ago. Thank you for watching.